Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming by to visit my channel and see what I've got happening creatively today. I thought I would do a follow-up video from my altered book project because I was talking about some flaws in that book where the text block was coming up a little short, and actually what was happening was the way it was glued, there are all sorts of gaps in there. So you can take a peek at that video if you want to be clearer about what I'm talking about. But I thought I would share some of the traditionally bound books I have made in the past, and then I could show you exactly what I'm talking about. So now you can kind of see some of these books here. And let's see if we can do a quick camera focus so we can see them more carefully. All right. So these are some traditionally bound books that I've made when I first started learning traditional bookbinding. I was taking a course at a local community college in Glendale. The instructor's name was Wendy Poma. She has retired from bookbinding, which makes me sad, but I learned a lot of really great traditional bookbinding techniques from her, which I have now used for a lot of my altered bookmaking and journal making. So this is in chronological order from top to bottom. This was the first book, the second book, and the third book I made in one of the last workshops that Wendy was hosting. So I'll just kind of show you what happened. This seems to be a recurring issue that the text block, which is the guts of the book, winds up being compressed when I glue it, so it really comes up short in the spine. You can see, the header here is just a little bit bigger than the text block. And one way we kind of fixed that was by gluing all the way down in here. Okay, this red is the end papers for the book, and this has been glued all the way in to the actual spine. You can kind of see a tiny gap right there, and in the back it's the same. It should actually be matching right up to that edge, but it doesn't. So I have this crazy gap, and we just glue all the way into what is essentially close to the spine proper, right in there. And again, you can see this header here on the bottom, slightly bigger than my book block. Well, let me just go over some terminology while we're at it. So front cover, spine, back cover, text block. In most books, it's usually already printed material, so that's why it's generally called a text block, or you could just call it the book block since this is all blank pages. This is a bookmark that's been glued into the cover, back cover, so we can use it as a nice bookmark. Separate our pages. You can see that this is a sewn signature book because you can see all the little gaps in each signature here. So let's see if we can get into this. And I might be able to see some sewing. Yeah, if you look carefully, you can see some thread right here where the signature was sewn. And then the sewn signatures are glued into a block, which is then glued to the spine, and the end papers are glued to the front page and also re-glued again. We had to do this twice because it was coming up short, which seems to be a recurring problem for me. As you will see in the second book, cover, spine, back, bookmark, end papers. And again, this is some pretty heavy stuff. So we just glued it a little bit to the text block right there. Sorry. Just a little bit has been glued right there. But you can see, once again, we had to go gluing all the way in towards the spine because my book block was coming up. Look at this, is even worse, really. Look at that. Look at the gaps here and here. But they have nice book headers. Yeah, this is a recurring problem. I seem to really squash my blocks when I'm gluing them, which is why I tend to like looser constructed books and art journals. By the last workshop, I did better, but she was also making skinnier books. By then, paper is getting so expensive over time. End papers, you can see it's not as badly glued. My text block is looking a little more matched. Here in the back, it's only slightly glued in to the spine. This one was a better match than my previous books. Not so much gap between the block and the covers. But yeah, this seems to be a problem that I have. I make these text blocks and I glue them really strongly, and then I can't seem to get them into my books properly. But I do have some traditional bookbinding chops, y'all, just so you know. All right. And I am planning on having some classes on some traditional bookbinding projects soon. I have a teachable course, teachable classroom. I can leave the link for that down below. Right now there's a beginner sewing course, so it's probably a good idea to start with that because bookbinding just uses some really simple hand sewing techniques to sew your signatures or to make some simple pamphlets. And once you know a little bit about needles and thread, then you'll be able to learn how to make some of your own books by hand. So if you're looking for that, check out my Teachable link down below, and I hope to see you there, and I hope you'll come back to see some other creative adventures I've got brewing around here. Thanks so much for stopping by. I'll see you soon.